This old guy DIY video has to do with troubleshooting a Husqvarna 7021P with the auto choke system. So a guy that I recently met said, hey, I'd like to get this lawnmower out of the garage. It hasn't run for 3 years. I don't want to pay somebody to dispose of it. Will you take this thing, give it away, throw it away, fix it if you want, but I'd like to get rid of it. So I said, sure, I'll take it, and we'll see if I can learn something. So I watched a couple of videos on YouTube. I've never worked on one of these Honda motors before, and I've never had a Husqvarna lawnmower either. So we're going to pull this choke cover off, get to the air filter, then I'll remove these two bolts so I can actually see the carburetor. We'll see what's going on here. When I removed the bolts, the carburetor just fell off in my hand. Looks like nothing was hooked up here to the fuel line. It appears that there's some kind of grass here in the intake, so I'll get that out. We'll see what we have waiting for us. I suspect this is the root cause of the problem. When I pulled the float bowl off of the carburetor, you can see all that crud on the inside. So I'm going to see how much I can clean this thing up with some brake cleaner, or whether I just need to buy a new carburetor. I think these things are only about 20 bucks on Amazon. I don't have high hopes for this thing. I cleaned out the bowl probably 70%. It still has some rusty crap in it, but nothing is loose. And then I shot this thing out with some brake cleaner. With brake cleaner costing 7 bucks a can and a whole new carburetor being about 25, I try to limit myself and say I'm going to give this motor 15 minutes before I go to Amazon. So I put her back together. I'm just going to put the parts on here, pull the cord, and see if by some chance it goes. Well, I put it back together, pulled the cord, nothing happened. Then I pulled the spark plug, gave it a shot of starting fluid, put the plug back in, put the wire back on, pulled the cord again. It pops and runs, then dies, so I have a fuel delivery issue. So I'm going to pull that carburetor off right now. I'll just throw the carburetor in gasoline overnight, and if it doesn't go tomorrow morning, then I'll order the new carb from Amazon. It's been a while since I did one of these, so I kind of got ahead of myself. And you see, it's not beautiful by any means, but I got all the loose material out of the bowl. But when I pulled the carburetor off, I took the nut loose on the bottom of the bowl again, and there was no fuel in there. Since there was no fuel, it told me that the little needle valve here wasn't working. So I pulled the pin, which you see running right across there. I took the float out, and I pulled that needle out, and I had to use a needle nose to do it. It was corroded in its spot. But then I cleaned it up with brake cleaner, and I cleaned the hole with brake cleaner. I just put this thing back together a moment ago. I put the bowl back on, then I just came over here and hooked it up to the fuel line, turned the fuel on, gave it a couple of seconds, shut the fuel off, pulled the thing back apart, and now the bowl was full of fuel. So I now have fuel delivery to the carburetor. I'm going to spend the next 3 minutes putting this thing back together and give her one more shot. It's about 7:30 on Friday night. When I put the carburetor back on, the thing still wouldn't catch. So I just went in the house, ordered a brand new carburetor with air filter for a whopping $20 from Amazon. It'll be delivered Monday. I'll slap it on and see if this thing has new life. I'm going to start the mower now after putting in that new $20 carburetor from Amazon. Since learning how affordable those replacement carburetors are, I've now taken two mowers that were between 10 and 20 years old, simply bought a carb on Amazon, threw it on there. This one is a Honda. The other one I did was a Briggs & Stratton. In both cases, after adding the new carburetor, the thing took off great. So my new technique is going to be, when a mower is having trouble, get the model number, go to Amazon, buy a carb, put the thing in, and call $20 or $25 a good investment to get another 10 years out of these things running strong. I hope this video helped you. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and thank you for watching.